Well, we get this backdrop every time now. We're like official. I like this, really fancy. Appreciate everybody coming out. I'll touch on just a few topics first and then obviously answer any questions that you have. Foreign trip wise, you know, we've obviously had a chance to talk with, I've had individual meetings with 10 of our 15 players. I have 5 more guys on Thursday. And one of the things I've been trying to do at the meeting is just ask them what they learned from the trip, what was their favorite city, you know, what was their favorite thing about the trip, et cetera, et cetera. And I think really, you know, for me, as I look back on it, I'm listening to them, I think, you know, 3 positive things stand out. One is there's no question, I think through the experience, we're a lot closer as a team. I think I thought the trip really and the practices helped us accomplish that. For this, you know, time or stage of the year, you know, and I thought our year 1 team was really close, but I think this may be about as close as we've been for August. So I thought that was a good thing. The second thing I thought was good, obviously, was the basketball piece. You know, to have 10 practices the way that we did, to learn about our newcomers in particular, to try different things, to experiment. I thought that was really valuable. And then you piggyback that with the basketball part of playing 4 games. I thought that was good. I thought the competition was, and I've been on now 4 foreign trips, I thought cumulatively it was the best that we went against on any of those 4 trips at the places I've been, and I thought that was good. It challenged us, and we were able to play different combinations of players, which I thought was really important. We tried to play big, we tried to play small, we tried different guys at point guard, we, you know, maneuvered some things around, and this time of year gives you the opportunity to do that, and that's pretty rare. So I thought we learned a lot basketball-wise about our team. Obviously, you've probably followed it and saw the box score. We did do it a little bit differently. You know, I tried to evenly disperse the minutes, started different lineups, played different combinations of guys, tried different things. Like I said, experimented, and I thought that was really valuable. The third thing, I think, and I looked at all the pictures last night my wife had on her phone, and I know Schmitty took a lot as well. He's got that fancy GoPro camera. You just look back and realize what an unbelievable opportunity it was for those guys. I mean, I think there were 3 of our guys that had traveled outside the country. No one else ever had. You know, to be in Paris, France, to be standing underneath the Eiffel Tower, to go to Ghent, Belgium, to be in Brussels, to be in Bruges, to, you know, walk on Omaha Beach, to walk through the cemetery at Normandy, to, you know, you think about it, that's an unbelievable cultural experience for those guys. And educationally, I mean, it's hard to beat it. So I thought those were the 3 positives. You know, certainly the negative was Darius's situation. You know, obviously, you know, everybody here is aware of the fact we dismissed him from the team. You know, I have great respect for, you know, him, his family, obviously his brother who I coached, and you know, at this point in time for us, you know, I made the decision I thought that was right, which was to dismiss him. But we're going to continue to have talks with the family and help them in any way that we can with him moving forward. I know there's also been some things, you know, said, rumors, people asking about JCL, or J. Cole, as the guys call him. It's the same as what I told you before. You know, at this juncture, he did not participate in foreign trip practices. He did not participate in the foreign trip games. We have an x-ray on the stress fracture coming here September 1-ish. And then we'll know a lot more at that time in terms of what that means. But he's feeling great. It's hard to keep him from coming down here even with the boot on and like shooting and throwing up runners. And you know, he feels good, and we're excited about that. We think he's made a lot of progress, and we hope for his return here certainly sooner than later. And then you guys just got the press release, at least I think DB handed it out, on Adam Fletcher. So we have, you know, an addition to our staff, very important addition, as we continue to emphasize strength and conditioning and how important that is to our team. You know, we went through a thorough process when Mike left to go back to his alma mater to be closer to family. And, you know, Dustin and Darren Hertz deserve a lot of credit because they really dove into that thing right in the middle of foreign trip practices was when it was going on. They were a great resource for me. We scoured the country. And to get someone like Adam, who I think is one of the best up-and-coming young strength and conditioning coaches in the country, and have him here to start fall semester. He actually starts officially tomorrow. is really exciting for a program, because that's a really important area, especially for our young guys. You know, for everybody for sure, but we've got some young guys, some newcomers. We're trying to bridge that gap with the strength, and make sure that they're ready to go, that they're what I've been telling them, Big Ten ready, and getting them more physical development with the strength and conditioning stuff. So, you know, that's kind of an update that I thought might be helpful to you on some areas there that you might have questions about. But at this point, you know, feel free to ask anything that's on your mind.
You said you played a few different point guards.
Yeah, we did.
Who'd you play?
We played Jalen, obviously. We played Malcolm there. We played DJ there. We played Mike there a little bit, but not a ton. You know, obviously Mike was in a little bit of a different situation, knowing that it was going to be his last opportunity to play and put on the jersey. We started him the last game there, the fourth game. You know, I have a lot of respect for Mike and how competitively tough he is. And, you know, he means a lot to me and our staff. We've been together through a lot of different things over the course of 3+ years. So, but those are the four guys, Rob, that played it on the trip.
Go
ahead, Rob.
How were Malcolm and DJ?
They were good. You know, I haven't necessarily made a decision. Obviously, we added Khalid, and he wasn't able to go on the trip. So he's, you know, you got him and Jalen, who have experience playing that position at the collegiate level. And then we have, you know, Malcolm and DJ who don't. Eventually, we'll make a decision, Rob, you know, which one of those guys becomes kind of the third guy that learns the position. I still think it's a little too early to tell. Although, you know, I worry a little bit because DJ's a freshman, and usually with freshmen we teach them one position. I think we've talked about that before here as a group. And I want to make sure I'm not putting too much on his plate. But he did some good things, you know, did some good things in practice. You know, certainly not necessarily, you know, ideal, but Khalid and Jalen, you know, are the two guys that have the most experience at that position.
What did you see out of Jalen on the trip in terms of his improvement?
He's improved for sure. You know, obviously his assist to turnover ratio was good. I thought he did some good things. I did. I tried to manage those guys' minutes that were a little bit older, and you know, played the newcomers as much or more if you look at the box score minutes. But you know, he's gotten better.
Obviously, you're going to need Michael and Maverick more now without Darius. What did you see from that on the trip?
I thought Mav had really, really good practices, Jeremy. I thought he was terrific. I thought he was up and down a little bit in the games, but he certainly improved. I'd like to see him be a little bit more consistent. You know, Michael, it was his first action since he played in high school. You know, and I thought he did some really good things, especially on the offensive end. I thought that make us, you know, potentially difficult to defend, because he can really stretch the floor and has the skill set of a perimeter at his size. So, you know, I think they both learned a lot. It was great for them, especially in Michael's case, to kind of get the rust off a little bit. So I thought that was good, and we'll just kind of continue to emphasize those guys getting better, getting stronger. I think the weight room and conditioning will be really important for them here in fall training camp.
Who stood out for you most on the trip?
A lot of guys improved. Matt, I would say, obviously, you look at LeRon Black's production numbers, and those stand out. And really, he was playing about half the game like everybody else was. I thought the biggest thing with him, though, for me, you know, was his ability to play hard without fouling. Really took a step in the right direction there. I thought he had one of the 4 games where he, you know, fouled a little bit, but, you know, other 3 he was 2 fouls or less. And I thought he was very effective on the glass. I think he's really improved offensively, you know, posting the ball in what I call the low and long post, where he turns and faces. He's really worked very, very hard at that. And then obviously we all know he has great touch from 15 to 17 feet. And in the 10 practices and the games, I mean, I haven't got the final deal they're working on for me, but at one point he was making close to 60% on 15 to 17 foot jumpers, you know. So he's really worked at it, and he's really improved. He's a byproduct of how hard he's worked. You know, some guys say they're going to work year round, then other guys start with that mindset and then they tail off a little bit, and you have to LeRon's one of those guys that's motivated 365, you know. And I thought the fact that he's worked as hard as he's worked really paid dividends for him during the practices and the trip.
What does Khalid do? How does he complement what Jalen does?
Well, we'll see. Obviously, it was a very quick recruitment. I'm excited about his competitive toughness. Obviously, he's got a Big Ten body at that position. If you've seen him or watched him at all, like, he's very physically strong. He loves to compete. He's a really good defender. I think he can get in the lane. Hopefully can make plays. The big key is I want to be able to make plays for himself and others. I think obviously when you're a point guard, you've got to be able to do both and read situations. He's shown that he can do that. We're really excited. The assistant coaches did a great job in a very quick recruiting process. I really have gotten to know him as a kid in a very short period of time, and I really like him as a person. I just like his body language. I love the way he competes when I watch him on film. I like a lot of things about him. So we're excited to have him. It certainly adds much needed depth to that position for us for this upcoming season.
What was your reaction when you got word what happened to Darius on the trip?
Obviously just an unfortunate situation. You don't want to get that news. If you're a coach, you do it long enough, you're probably going to get it at least once at some point in time or more. Obviously we have standards that we expect, and that was just an unfortunate situation. It's not what we necessarily plan for or want, but it happened, and when it happened, then obviously you put yourself in position like he did to obviously end up being dismissed from the team.
Was he alone in that incident?
I'm not going to comment any further. People have asked me about that. That's between me, him, and his family. At this point, he's dismissed from the team, and we're going to help him move forward.
Do you still feel good about giving him a second chance to come here and play, and all the research that you did to know that he was ready for another opportunity?
Without question. I would hope that if that was my own son, I'd do it the exact same way. If it was a player with a different name, I'd do it the exact same way.
Is he enrolled now?
We gave him an opportunity. We're going to continue to work with him. I've always been a coach that believes in second chances. I think especially when you're 18 to 22 in the stressful arena of athletics and being a student, on campus and all the different things that come with that. I've always erred that way. I've done that my entire career. But obviously at some point, you have to, accountability becomes a factor, culture becomes a factor, and you certainly don't, as a parent or coach, ever want to be an enabler, So, for me, it was more about the decision I felt comfortable with this time as I looked at it through the eyes of the university, the athletic department, the men's basketball program, our team in our locker room, and most importantly, or as important, I should say, is what's best for him personally at this juncture.
Do you know where he's headed? Is he going to be enrolled here? Or is
That's
he
a
going to be enrolled
decision that the
somewhere else?
family's going to make. They know certainly, what options are on the table, and that regardless of what they choose, we're going to help him move forward. The only thing I can tell you is he's dismissed from the team, and he's not playing on the basketball team.
Do you know if he has options to play elsewhere?
I don't know that. Yeah, I'm sure he does.
Okay.
I'm sure I can assure you that I think there's been some communication there, and that he'll, my guess is if he wants to do that, he'll have options more.
What do you see, John, specifically from Malcolm and Kendrick?
In fairness to those guys, I really limited their minutes. I was concerned about Malcolm a little bit with 8 weeks USA basketball preparation, where he was in phenomenal condition. When I went to Colorado Springs and saw him the first night, I thought he was he had really prepared himself to do that very, very well. And he was really motivated to do that. So then you have 10 practices on top of that, 4 games he's playing. And so I was very cautious about managing his minutes. And really everybody, for the most part, played about the same for the most part. A few minutes swing here or there, but all in all, I thought it was, I got a feel for what those guys can do. Obviously, they both have gotten better, both have gotten stronger. They both are more experienced. They know how much we count on them and rely on them, and I'm anxious for them to embrace this opportunity that they have now heading into their 3rd year with their experience level, and to take it to another level, within what they do. I mean, I think they can do that for sure. I think both of them, we all know standing here, both of them are really, really good players. We're going to need them to be consistent and be a huge part of what we're doing this upcoming season.
John's the 2nd year in a row you've lost Tracy to injury and Darius to off-court stuff. Do you feel like your team's better equipped now, or how do you think they'll be able to handle this?
The way I look at it, for me, as I look at our team, I will say, some people say, hey, those significant changes? Absolutely, they're significant. You know, Tracy's a guy that for 2 years now in a row that we were going to count on being a major part of our team at that position. You know, Darius was going to be a part of that as well. You know, it's kind of part of it. The way I look at it is, you know, we've recruited some really special, talented players. We've been able to do that. I like the guys that are on our team. It's going to give some of the younger guys maybe more opportunity than maybe what we anticipated. I think they're going to relish that. I think they're going to love that. We've got to work with them to continue to get them up to speed. But I'm confident in those guys. I believe in those guys. And, you know, we had the next man up philosophy last year. That's not going to be any different. You know, we're not going to change our expectations or, you know, how we do things, or, you know, we can control what we can control, and that's what we're going to worry about. But I really think this opens up doors of opportunities for some talented guys, and some special guys. Now they got to bust through that door, and we got to do everything we can as a staff to get them ready.
What's the future for Tracy here? Do you know?
You know, obviously, Rob, we're going to try to, you know, go through the waiver process. That's what he wants to do. You know, I certainly don't want to speak for the NCAA. You know, obviously, it's a you know, I don't know if I've ever seen a situation where guys had, you know, 2 back-to-back season enders before the season started, back-to-back. That's pretty rare. I'm certain that they will take that into consideration. You know, but we'll do everything we can to help Tracy recover, get his health back. I know he's pursuing a master's degree. You know, we're going to continue to do everything we can to, you know, to help him move forward. But that's certainly a possibility with the 6th year. You know, again, the NCAA ultimately makes that decision.
You were probably playing against some older guys over there.
Oh, for sure.
And
Yeah.
how did Aaron and DJ do with just the competition?
I think they learned they need to get stronger physically. This isn't high school anymore, you know, which was good. I mean, you can tell them that, and they can have some of that in practice, but when you're playing against the Netherlands national team and you're trailing a stagger and a guy who's 28 years old and 6'11", 250 pounds screens you at the end of that stagger and you die on the screen, that's a little different than getting screened in high school. You know, so I thought that was good for them. I thought it was great for them. They would tell you that. You know, AJ I met with him yesterday, and DJ, I think they would tell you, like, that was great for them. Those guys that we played against on that particular team, those guys were pros. You know, guys stashed away by the Timberwolves. Those guys were in their 20s. A couple guys were in their early 30s. Like, it was, you know, it was men. We were playing against men. It was good. I mean, it was good. I wish we could have had a chance to not play them. I told DB this on back-to-back nights on days 2 and 3 of the trip. You know, you know me, I'm a no excuses guy, but I did say to my wife on day 2 or 3, like, man, I'm not used to the time zone yet, and I'm not playing. Now, by the time I thought we got to like day 4 or 5 of the 10-day trip, like, I felt pretty good, you know, and I'm sure they felt a lot better as well. I wish we'd have had either a day in between game 1 and game 2, or like, you know, because really I thought from a competitive standpoint, I thought the best 2 teams we played competition-wise were game 1 and game 2, right out of the gates on day 2 and day 3. You know, so but you know, you can't control all that. Just how the trip worked out. But it was, you know, it was good for those guys. I think they learned a lot through the practices and through the games that in a normal year you wouldn't be afforded that opportunity. You'd be waiting till October 1st with maybe a few team workouts starting September 15th to figure some of that stuff out. So I thought it was really beneficial for them and for our team.
Coach, you got to see Mike Thorne in game action. How did he shape up to your expectations?
Well, first, I think it was great that he lost 10 to 15 pounds through the process of the 8 weeks of summer school and the foreign trip practices. I thought that was great. Thought it helped his conditioning. I still think he has another gear there, but he's a load in and around the basket. I mean, he's a big dude. You know, he did a great job of sealing and getting position, finishing around the rim. I thought he rebounded per minute played very well. I still think as he continues to get in, I keep telling him I want you in the best shape of your life. As he gets in that shape, and he and Coach Fletch will be working together on that, I think he's pretty committed to that. You know, I think we can even see more out of Mike Thorne that's really productive and positive. But he did some good things for sure.
Is it possible, John, that Alex Austin might play a few minutes for you?
It's
other than
possible.
mop-up?
Yeah, it's possible.
Is he a pretty good defensive player?
He is really tough, and I met with him, I guess it was Monday. He's really improved. and he's picked up our defense very quickly. And I think that's, you know, your point's a really good one. I think he's certainly at this juncture today, and you could say, well, how could you expect the freshman to know everything about your defense in 10 practices and 4 games, and they just got here? Like, I mean, I get that. But as of today, I would say he's certainly one of our better perimeter defenders. There's no question about that. He's proven that, and so that gives him at least a chance. You know, there's certainly no promise of anything, but it's definitely that defensive effort that he's given and continued to improve in terms of understanding what we want on that end. His consistency in making very, very few mistakes defensively has certainly got our attention.
He also, when his mechanics on the three-pointer may be the best on the team. A few times that I've seen him shoot.
There's a lot of them that have pretty good. AJ's got pretty good mechanics. Obviously, J. Cole does. Kendrick does. Malcolm. I mean, there's a lot of them that have pretty good mechanics. But did he shoot it well at a high percentage overseas or in Europe? Absolutely. You know, I think a big part of that, Rob, is he just kind of takes good ones. He's not hunting them. He just is ready, and if he's open, he's going to shoot it. And he's, you know, because of that, his shot selection is really good. And I think that more than anything else, and not to say he can shoot the ball, but he takes good ones. And when you take good ones and you're a pretty good shooter, you're going to shoot a high percentage. And that's really what he did during the practices, and that's what he did during the games.
What's your practice plans moving forward now, John?
Yeah, great question. We're doing a little different. Normally we'd have a 6-week fall training camp. It would kind of be all inclusive, but because of the 8 weeks, the practices, the games, the deal I mentioned to you earlier about Malcolm and how much you know, wear and tear we put on him, I've kind of divided the fall 6 weeks into a 2-week segment, which we're in right now, and then a 4-week segment. So this 2 weeks, I've kind of done a little bit to use the kind of NBA model where we have young veterans, which would be like Finke or Liss or Alex Austin, with newcomers report. Okay, here are these first 2 weeks and learn the system more, watch film from the trip. We're working out Khalid Lewis pretty hard here these 2 weeks because he wasn't here during the 8 weeks, didn't take the trip, didn't have the practices. While in the meantime, we've got Malcolm, you know, Ken, J-Tate, LaRon, Morgan, Latulip, you know, those guys that are older, kind of doing some shooting a little bit, and they'll start the strength and conditioning, but we're not occupying as much as their time right now due to the fact that we know it's a long season. And now some of them, it's interesting the way that works because almost all of them, even though I told them I wanted them to kind of rest physically and get mentally refreshed, you know, they're so coachable that all of them have been in the last 2 days working out. And, you know, it's not like I'm going to kick them out of the gym. Which is a good sign. I mean, they want to be good and they want to work, but we're trying to approach it these first 2 weeks with some cautiousness, understanding that we want to win the war, not the battle. And then once we get to the 3rd week, we'll have 4 weeks where we're going to hit it really hard collectively, with strength, with conditioning, continuing with more basketball stuff for the whole. That'll start there in week 3.
And when's your 4-week stretch begin?
The 3rd week of the fall semester. Right now we're in week 1, so I don't have an exact date on there, but whatever date that Monday is of week 3 of the fall semester.
Coach, how confident are you in playing Malcolm Hill at power forward in certain stretches?
Well, Malcolm's never going to be a power forward. He's never a power forward. It doesn't matter whether I call him a 5, 4, 6, a 2, a 1, a 3. He's never going to be a power forward. Don't want him to be a power forward. He's pretty daggone good at who he is. He's a guard. And, you know, is there times where, you know, so far through 3 years in practices, he's played 1, 2, 3, and 4. And last year when we played Purdue here at home, I asked him to defend their 5. So that's one of the strong suits of Malcolm Hill is his versatility. And the fact that he will do whatever I ask him to do to help Illinois be competitive and win. And, you know, but in essence, he's a guard, no matter what position he's playing at. Sometimes that can be good because sometimes it creates matchup problems, you know. But, you know, he's a guy right now, and he knows that. We're able to kind of throw him at a lot of different positions. Number one is experience level with our system, knowing what he needs to do. And then number two is just his versatility at 6'6", You know, he's physically stronger than he was obviously when he came in. His knowledge of what I expect, you know, his ability to dribble, pass, shoot, defend multiple positions. You know, I think that that makes him really versatile, and it helps our team a lot.
Adam Fletcher looks like he could help you on the glass.
He could. You know, I coached against Fletch, and he was one of those guys that if he was on your team, you loved him tough. If he wasn't, you couldn't stand playing against him. Physical, tough, probably very similar to the physicality and the competitiveness of like Laurent Black. Just really just a tough guy between the lines. You know, laid it on the line. Had a high motor. You know, thought he was one of the better defenders in the league, and it necessarily wasn't no disrespect to him because of his freakish athleticism. That's because of his toughness and his intelligence, and he was a grinder. You know, and when you're wired that way, I think that continues into whatever avenue you pursue professionally. And you know, it was pretty obvious from interviewing him and talking to people and doing our background checks and all that on him that he's still wired that way as a strength coach. I'm excited about that. I think he's the right guy, and I told our players this in the meeting, the right guy at the right time for us. Certainly have a great deal of respect for Mike, and Mike was with us for a while. We wish him and his family the best as he moves back to his alma mater and gets closer to his family. But we're also excited about the transition and that edge or toughness that he's going to bring to the weight room. I think can be very beneficial to our team.
What's Darren added already?
Darren's just, you know, very versatile, obviously, doing it 19 years in different roles, and being around a successful program like Florida, you know, working for Billy Donovan, who I respect a great deal for a lot of reasons. You know, biggest thing he does, honestly, you know, he does a lot of things. I don't want to say it's just the one thing, but he makes me think, and that's a great gift to have as an assistant coach. He has great ideas. You know, he's seen things done maybe different ways. It's one of the reasons why we hired him. You know, I have a lot of guys that have been with me for a while, and that's a good thing. But Darren thinks a little bit outside the box, or maybe a little bit differently than how the rest of us might be, you know, wired at our core, haven't been together for a while, and that's good. It gives you fresh ideas, different ways to do things. I think he really, really thinks well, and now we're excited to have him.
Thanks,
Okay,
John.
thanks guys. No problem.
Appreciate it.
No problem.